Hey everyone, it's Dave Harvey here, and I've got some incredible friends. There's Chuck Parry, Yannick and Dave, and we are here for the Good News podcast today, the Increased Good News podcast.
Right.
Number one, the very first podcast, which is looking at what God is doing right now, because God is good.
Yeah.
And He's alive, and you're about to hear some incredible testimonies, which I know they're not just going to blow your mind, but our heart is that they happen again, aren't they? We want to see God jump through this computer screen, jump into Facebook,
Come on.
go me everywhere, and bless your socks off. So the Increased Good News podcast, that's our heart, is we want to celebrate the goodness of God so that it happens again. And we got some fun guys here, so it's going to be good. Chuck Parry, let's get straight into it, bro.
Okay.
You're so good looking, by the way. You're a good man. Chuck, I think it was 8 years ago, you had a crazy encounter with Jesus where He took you into heaven. And then, anyway, why don't you tell us a little bit about this? Because you've had an incredible testimony happening in your life where God is allowing you to give away a lot of money. And you heard me say that, money. So what happened?
So I ended up in the treasury room of heaven. And
Hang on, stop. What? Tell people how to get there. What were you doing?
I just laid down on my couch just to worship Jesus and to be in His presence because I love Him. I wasn't planning to go anywhere. And He took me, and suddenly I'm in the treasury room of heaven.
Wow.
And actually I had strategized before, how can I bless people financially? And I wasn't thinking about it then, but I ended up in this room, and there were gold bricks, like from floor to ceiling, went on in every direction forever.
Wow.
And so I knew it was the treasury room of heaven, and Jesus was right beside me. And I said a really stupid thing. I said, Jesus, I don't know what I'd do with gold bricks. Do you have any cash?
What was the look on Jesus' face when
He said, no problem, turn around. I turned around, and there were bookshelves that went on forever, like a library. And on the shelves were $100 bills, wadded into thousands, stacked like books on library shelves that went on forever. And suddenly I got an idea of 3 people I knew who needed $10,000 and for mission trips and different things. And I said, hey, could I have $10,000 for these friends? And he goes, sure. And he brings out this little brown paper bag, which I thought was kind of funny. It was all wrinkly. I mean, this is heaven. And we stuffed, wads of hundreds and thousands into the bag, and then I woke up on the couch.
Wow.
And I looked around for the bag, and it wasn't there.
Wow.
And so I started plotting with a good friend of mine, Andy Mason, who you know.
Yeah.
How do you get what you've seen in heaven into this realm? And we thought of prophetic acts. So we got 3 $1 bills and wrote 0,000 $10,000, and we gave them. I gave them to these 3 people, and I said, this looks like a $1 bill, but it's really a prophetic $10,000 bill. I'm just going to give you a Father's blessing and swipe your ATM card on the account of heaven, and boom, and they all got $10,000.
What?
In a week.
In a week.
Wow.
In a week. Do it again. Do it again.
And so it was so much fun. My wife and I started taking out $10 bills from the bank, and just writing zeros and looking for targets to give them away.
Wow. So it only took a week for people to get what you saw in heaven actualized in their account. And then you just kept doing it, didn't you?
I've done it hundreds of times. One story, there was a young man who was going to plant a church in another country. And so I had a $20 bill, and I wrote a comma and 3 zeros on it and gave it to him and blessed him and expected him to get $20,000 quickly. Well, I saw him at Leaders Advance a year later, and he was really struggling. I said, "Look, how are the finances?" "Oh, we're having a hard time." So 3 years later, he came back to a Leaders Advance and said, "I've got a testimony I have to share with you." And what he shared is that he, instead of believing God for the $20,000, he'd gone into debt. They'd started using a credit card and just incurred a huge credit card debt.
Ouch.
And so after 2.5 years, he decided, okay, we're going to pay off this debt. This is not God's plan.
Wow.
Indebtedness is not the plan.
No.
Indebtedness is not the plan.
Come on. Yeah.
And so they paid off their debt. They saved money. They got it in the red, and then he had a temptation to use some money that was allotted for a missions trip to take care of a need, and he goes, no, I'm believing God. And so a woman invited him over for dinner and said, I just want to bless you. Gave his wife a beautiful present and gave him an envelope, and in it was $60,000. So that's $20,000 for each of the 3 years he didn't believe God. When he turned it around and believed him, he got interest.
Oh my goodness.
That is amazing.
Jesus.
So God,
Wow.
God is a blesser.
What?
Receive it.
What about you and your lovely wife? Like, I remember you telling me that, in that initial encounter with Jesus, your three friends' names came to your mind, or 3 people that you could help out. But also, Jesus wanted to bless you guys so that you could bless others as well.
Well, I felt like 10,000 was given to me specifically on that trip to heaven, and after we started blessing a lot of people, they started getting money. I said, well, Jesus, I feel like there was $10,000 for us. I wonder what happened to that. The next day, my son called me up from Colorado, and we had moved from Colorado, and he said, Dad, your mail has been forwarded to me, and this envelope came. It looked important, so I opened it, and it's a check to you for $10,000.
What?
From somebody he didn't know.
What?
And so I had him deposited in the bank, got the name, and it actually is an uncle. I have dozens and dozens of uncles and aunts,
Yeah.
huge family, and an uncle I don't really know, and so I contacted him to thank him, and he said, I love your father, and I just felt like since your father passed away, I want to bless his children.
Wow.
And each of my siblings got $10,000.
That's
Come on,
amazing.
Jesus.
Amazing. Come on.
Jesus
So
is in a good mood.
Yes.
So it happened for your 3 people that you knew. It happened for yourself, and you've been doing this for a long time. That pastor
for
got given
8
3 lots of
Yeah.
$20,000.
So for 8 years it's been happening. And one time I asked
Wow.
God, why $10,000? That's always the number. And he said, that's the amount that most people have a plan for.
Wow.
That's what they can steward. I went, okay.
Wow.
So come up with
I know, right? I'm thinking, wow, I've got some great plans right now. Lots of good plans. Wow. So boys, this was 8 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yannick, tell us what happened to you? Because where did you hear about? Did you hear about this testimony? Or?
Yeah, I heard about that testimony, but that was actually not the begin of the whole story. So,
Hang on, you've got an accent. Where are you from?
yeah, I'm from Germany,
Come on, and you're
I'm
here
in-
at Bethel Reading doing.
the supernatural school.
Come on.
I'm in 2nd year now.
Woo.
And I applied for different ministry trips
Yeah.
for January, and then I have a mission trip in April.
Yeah.
And I was believing God for finances, but that one day I was sitting at my computer, I looked at my German bank account, and I just saw lack. It was not the amount I was hoping for.
I thought Germans were like detailed people. Like you're just like flat.
Yeah, I just didn't see the amount of money I needed for my trips, and I had 2 deadlines that were coming up like a couple of days after. But nevertheless, I had a thought. I believe it was inspired by God to transfer 1,000 euros to my US account, so I'm actually able to pay some of the stuff.
Come on.
So I did that. It was a struggle at the beginning because I was like, I don't even have faith. But it was inspired because he said, I'm going to give you the same amount of money the next day again on your German account. Wow. So I was like, there's nothing else to do, so I just try it. So I did that in faith. The next morning I got up and he reminded me. I went on my German bank account and there was another $1,000 on there.
Come on, Jesus. Come on.
But it even got better. The next morning, the day after, I woke up in the morning and there were another 600 euros on my account.
Come on.
Incredible, right?
Sprinkle some more in there.
So I in my life, I've never seen that amount of money donated to me. I mean, I saw like $50 or $100, but not like $1,600 in 2 days.
Wow.
So I was really encouraged, and I was like, oh wow, it blew my mind.
Wow.
And I felt like, because I knew so many of my friends, they still needed money,
Yeah.
and many from my school and from my class. So I had that thought to give away $1 bills to everybody in my revival group. And then 2 days later, I was sitting in one of Chuck's classes, and he started sharing that testimony we heard earlier with the 10,000 prophetic dollar bills. So I was like, all right. Let's not just give $1 away, let's give $10,000 away.
No way. So you already had the idea to give away dollars,
Yes.
but not prophetic $10,000 bills.
Yes.
And God set you up to hear Chuck's testimony.
Literally the first time I heard that testimony in the
Wow.
same week. That was on a Tuesday. So I went to the bank afterwards. I got the money for everybody, which was like $70 bills.
Wow.
I wrote it. I wrote on everybody on all of the bills,
Yep.
the 10,000. I went on a Thursday to my revival group, to my class, and I started sharing my own testimony. I shared Chuck's testimony, and then I just told everybody, I'm going to give you $10,000 bills now, and God is going to provide for all of your trips. But I was even encouraged, because what I experienced was more like God telling me, I'm not just giving you what you need for the moment, but I'm a God of abundance and a God of more than enough.
Wow.
That's why I want to give everybody $10,000 and not just maybe $2,000.
Yeah.
So I just gave that out. I just gave everybody those dollar bills, and then I came to David. He was the last person in line.
Purposely.
Yeah, now Dave, what was with that? Because there was some purpose behind you being last.
Well, as soon as Yana got up and started the testimony and told us about Chuck, because I was in Chuck's AMT before, and started giving testimony about $10,000, I knew that he was going to do something. And when he was pulling out these dollar bills with 10,000 written on it, I positioned myself to be the last person.
Some people would think that's crazy. Like, what if he runs out? But you haven't.
Because I really believed it. I believed it. I took it. And I said, I'm going to be the last person to receive this, because I knew there was a few people missing in the class. And I'm going to receive everything that's left over. Yeah, so he came to me last, and he gave me $1. I said, no, I want all of it.
Yeah, he did.
And as soon as he gave it to me, I felt the power of God. I fell with such joy and laughter. And it was 9 bills I received, and somebody next to me gave his $1 bill. So I ended up receiving 10 of the 10,000.
You got $10,000
That's right.
notes.
That's right.
So $10 in real Aussie American currency, but 100,000 in heaven's economy.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
And you also got hit by the Holy Spirit and quite happy at that moment.
I was so grateful, because all throughout the year I was contending for abundance. Because you're hearing students trying to pay off mission trips, tuition and living expenses, and I'm thinking, God, we're praying for kingdom on earth. Kingdom on earth, of course, we're stewarding your presence and your healing and signs and miracles, but we're also stewarding your abundance.
Come on.
Yes.
And then that month, actually, Bill, our spiritual father, Bill Johnson, he said, this month there'll be radical breakthroughs for everybody. And I said, my breakthrough is going to be finances and abundance.
Come on, Jesus.
Yeah.
So then what happened? Because you got these $10 bills, $100,000 heaven bills.
Yeah. So I folded up nicely and put it in my journal.
Yep.
And I was waiting for it. I was really waiting for it, because I knew it was done in heaven. It's just a matter of time. Yeah. And I think it was only 2 weeks later, I went to Korea because I had to take care of some business. And I met my father's friend, and my father had bought some property, and he had sold it.
Yep.
And it was in legal complications. And the people said that it will take 3 years to receive the remaining balance. And I didn't know what was going on because by this time my dad passed away.
Yeah.
But he came up to me and said, I want to have lunch with you. So I said, fine. And we went to a nice restaurant. And he said, well, we don't want to wait another 3 years because we want to honor your dad. Wow. And we want to give you the remaining balance, which was $100,000.
No!
Receive it.
So good.
Yeah.
$100,000. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
How did you feel when you got it?
You know, I was so happy, but something in me said I was expecting it, right?
You just knew.
I was expecting it. It was just a matter of, I think that's where I tapped in because I wasn't saying, oh, it's a dollar bill, it's a 10,000 written on it. I really received it as $10,000 in my spirit. And I received it, and then everybody was prophesying over us, and even Bill said this month is going to be a month of breakthrough. So God was speaking to us about abundance. Yeah, so I was just waiting for it, and of course I was surprised, but inside I was so happy. I knew this is my moment.
Wow,
Yeah.
you've seen that, haven't you, Chuck? Like as people position themselves, what do you think it is to position yourself? Like, what do you need to do?
You know, I see some people just want money and they go, yeah, I'll take that. And nothing seems to come, but there's some who lean into it. They go, yes, this is from God.
Yeah.
And there's some connection of the heart that just believes that He is for them.
Come on.
There's this leaning into it. It's hard to describe. Faith is involved for sure, but there's just this receptivity.
Yes.
It says,
Wow.
yeah, Papa.
Amazing.
Oh my goodness. I love it. Now the story doesn't end there, does it? Because it gets better than this. Like you receive that, and then something else happened along the journey.
I think God set us up.
God set you up.
I think He set the whole thing up, actually.
Because He didn't want it to stop for 100,000 because like in our community we're having this Horizon Build project and it's going to cost us $100 million to build this new campus. And we're all praying for it and contending for it. And $100,000 is going to cut it. So I knew God was setting us up for something so that it will continue on and on and on throughout the community.
Come on.
And even now throughout the nations. So when I received that 100,000, something in me said, this is seed. Because Bill always says, whenever you receive money, you have to pray, is this seed or is this bread?
Beautiful.
Because if you eat your seed, you'll get sick. You got to plant it to see it grow. If you plant your bread, it's not going to do anything.
Come on.
It's a waste of money.
Yeah.
But I knew in my heart this was seed. Because the need around all of us was much more than 100,000. Wow. So, but that right after that that encounter with my dad's friend, I had coffee with a pastor friend of mine, and he's really into North Korea missions and refugee rescue, and he's housing missionaries for a place of rest. And he was sharing his heart. He was saying, you know, I'm going through a hard time. We really need to buy this property. And it has to be bought because it will be sold to somebody else. And if we don't buy it, we won't be able to have this center for North Korean refugees and missionaries.
Wow.
And when I heard that over coffee, I said, oh, I know this is also my moment. And I just blurted out, not even thinking, I will give you that 100,000.
Wow.
Because that was the amount he said he needs.
So he said he
Yeah,
needed
he said this is 100. This property will cost 100,000, and we don't have the money, and we are really in need. And he was sharing this to me just out of his heart because he knew I was also a missionary. I was a student. I didn't have any money, but he was just sharing his heart. And then I knew this is my moment to release it and plant it in this field. So I said, I'll give it to you. And then I went back to my wife that afternoon. I don't usually do this. You first talk to your wife. But I knew God set us up. So I talked to my wife and my family, and they all said, yeah. And this needs to go back to the mission field because my dad has been laboring in that mission field for such a long time. And my dad's friend wanted to honor my dad. And I'm receiving that money, I need to honor him back and the missions. And it's planted there. And I really believe that even the discussion we're having now is to release the fruits of that from Chuck and from Yannick and to me into the world and into the mission field and ministries and the kingdom.
Come on.
Yeah.
We're going to do that in a second, so get ready. And I really, the reason we wanted to start with this testimony is because we know God is in a good mood, and we know that
Yes,
He's
and amen.
way more generous. Like
on.
even I love that testimony of the 3 years not believing, and then all right, I'm going to believe, and then getting back paid. Like we really believe God's about to do something. So just position yourselves in a moment. But I think I'm astounded, Chuck, that a time of worship where you weren't even like, you weren't even looking for it, but Jesus takes you into an abundant place and just says, hey, look around you, I've got enough.
Well, one of the things he spoke to me, he said, I want you to be a broker of heaven. Now, I mean, financially, but in every way. And so that was the persona I grabbed hold of and said, okay, yes, I'll do that.
That's awesome.
And then it's interesting, when I heard David's testimony that he received from a relationship with his father and then gave it away, and that was the same thing that we did. It was from a relationship with my father, and when we got the $10,000, my wife and I agreed, let's sow this in, and we started sowing into a variety of people.
It sounds like God's not only going to meet needs today, but He's going to give people tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars so they can use it as seed and be generous. And
That's right.
who knows where this train's going to end, boys? Like, this is going to be fun. Why don't we release that? We're about out of time. But so if you want to receive this miracle in your life, I just want you to position yourself as a son or a daughter of God. Jesus' blood paid for your righteousness. He paid for your acceptance. It's not about your good, your works. It's about His love for you. So Chuck, why don't you just release it right now?
Heaven's increase incoming
Come on.
to your bank account.
Come on.
Yeah, just let the plans, the dreams, the desires of your heart for the kingdom be birthed. It just increase and increase and increase. And His account in heaven, the treasury room of heaven, is not sparse. It's not spare. It's overflowing with abundance. And He wants to pour that into your dreams, your hearts for the nations.
Thank you, Lord.
That we just bless you with increase in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Amen. Boys, thank you so much for being here today. It's such an honor. Thank you for stewarding the testimonies so well of Jesus Christ. And we just know it's going to happen again. When you get your 10,000 or your 100,000, make sure you let us know on Facebook. We really want to just keep God's goodness happening around the world. It's going to be fun. All right, we love you guys, and we'll see you in our next Increase Good News podcast. Bye-bye.